Have you ever woken in the small hours, heart racing, mind loud, certain you will never fall asleep again, and then, days later, found yourself standing in front of the refrigerator wondering why you came there? For millions of people in midlife and beyond, those moments are not isolated annoyances. They are the quiet erosion of two of the most precious faculties we possess: restorative sleep and reliable memory. In this video, I will show you a simple 60-second exercise, one that neurologists are now highlighting for its capacity to reset the nervous system and promote both deeper sleep and clearer memory. Before we get to the how, it is essential to understand the why. Sleep and memory are not two separate chapters of life's manual. They are pages of the same book. While you sleep, your brain is not idle. It is engaged in housekeeping and rewriting, clearing metabolic waste, strengthening important neural connections, and moving newly encoded experiences from short-term storage into the long-term networks that form our daily competence and identity. When that nightly process is interrupted, whether by stress, pain, irregular schedules, or the slow recalibration of circadian rhythms that can come with age, the consequences are far from trivial. You feel fatigued and foggy the next day. Repeated disruptions over months and years are associated with declines in concentration, mood difficulties, and a measurable weakening of the brain's ability to form and retain new memories. That is the problem. It is immediate and it is personal. For viewers between 35 and 70, life's demands often collide with biological change, careers that require sustained attention, caretaking responsibilities, and a social rhythm that may no longer align with the body's internal clock. A single sleepless night can feel catastrophic. A pattern of poor sleep can chip away at independence. But here is the crucial point that brings this video into the realm of practical hope. The brain remains plastic well into later decades. It retains the capacity to reconfigure, to strengthen pathways, and to return to more restorative patterns of activity, if given the right signals. Neurologists and sleep scientists increasingly emphasize that not every intervention needs to be complex or time-consuming. Some of the most effective drivers of change are short, targeted practices that engage both physiology and attention. The exercise I will teach you fits that description. It takes 60 seconds because it is designed to produce a rapid, reproducible shift in autonomic balance, from the high alert state driven by the sympathetic nervous system to the calming, restorative engagement of the parasympathetic system. That shift lowers the noise of cortisol, increases the flow of oxygen to critical brain regions, and nudges neural rhythms toward the slow waves and theta activity associated with deep, memory-consolidating sleep. I do not offer a miracle cure. No single practice will erase decades of poor habits overnight. What I will offer you is something different and, I believe, far more valuable. A precise, evidence-informed tool that you can use nightly. A brief ritual that signals to your nervous system that the day is over and the work of repair may begin. Used consistently and paired with basic sleep hygiene, this tool can produce tangible improvements in sleep onset, in the depth of rest you achieve, and in your capacity to remember the things that make daily life manageable and meaningful. Because this material touches on health, and because individual medical circumstances vary, let me be clear. The guidance here is informational and rooted in neuroscience, but it is not a substitute for personalized medical advice. If you have a diagnosed sleep disorder, are taking medication that affects sleep, or have significant medical conditions, consult your physician before making changes. For most viewers, however, the steps I will describe are safe, non-invasive, and adaptable to a bedside routine. In the chapters that follow, I will do 3 things. First, I will explain with exacting clarity how aging and lifestyle disrupt the interplay between sleep and memory, using language that respects scientific nuance without becoming technical. Second, I will teach the 60-second exercise in a way that is simple to follow and safe to practice at home. You will be able to try it tonight. Third, I will place the exercise in context, showing how modest adjustments to diet, light exposure, and daily rhythm amplify its benefits and help preserve cognitive vitality across decades. This is not a sales pitch for yet another quick fix. It is an invitation to a practice. The stakes are plain. Restorative sleep underpins everything from balance and mood to the quiet dignity of remembering a friend's name or the route to a childhood home. If you have been tolerating fragmented nights and the creeping unreliability of memory, know that change is possible. The brain's capacity for recovery does not vanish with age. It adapts, but it needs the right cues. Over the next minutes, I will give you one of those cues. A short, practical intervention with a clear physiological rationale. Try it. Judge for yourself. Then decide how much of your life you want to invest in sleeping better and thinking more clearly. To understand why a 60-second intervention can matter, you first need to see how sleep and memory are intertwined within the architecture of the brain. Imagine your day as a flood of information: words heard, images seen, decisions made, emotions felt. Every moment leaves a trace, a fragile imprint scattered across neural circuits. These traces are not yet permanent. They are like ink, still drying. Without proper consolidation during sleep, much of that ink smudges and fades. The hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure deep in the brain, acts as a temporary library. It holds the events of your waking hours, but only for a short while. When you drift into sleep, especially into the slow wave stages that dominate the first half of the night, the hippocampus begins a process of transfer. Information is replayed and relayed to the cortex, where it becomes part of long-term storage. This nightly migration is what allows you to recall yesterday's conversation or recognize a new neighbor's face weeks later. But here lies the complication. As we age, the depth and duration of slow-wave sleep tend to decline. Hormonal changes, reduced melatonin output, and shifts in circadian rhythms all conspire to fragment the night. Without sufficient time in deep sleep, the hippocampus cannot fully offload its cargo. The next day you feel foggy, distracted, more prone to forgetting small but important details. Over years, the cumulative effect is profound. Research links chronic sleep disruption with measurable shrinkage of the hippocampus, reduced neurogenesis, the birth of new neurons, and increased deposition of toxic proteins such as beta-amyloid, which are strongly associated with dementia. This is why scientists speak of sleep not merely as rest, but as one of the brain's most critical housekeeping functions. The relationship is reciprocal. Poor sleep weakens memory, but stress about poor memory further undermines sleep. Many viewers over 50 will recognize the cycle. Lying awake, rehearsing the day's mistakes or tomorrow's obligations, heart rate rising as the minutes tick by. This state of hyperarousal is the hallmark of sympathetic nervous system dominance, the fight or flight mode that evolved to save us from predators but now keeps us alert at exactly the wrong time. It is here, in this physiological bottleneck, that targeted interventions are most effective. A brief but well-designed exercise can switch the balance of the autonomic nervous system, lowering heart rate, relaxing blood vessels, and priming the brain for the transition into slow-wave sleep. That is why neurologists are excited. The barrier is not the body's lack of capacity, but the lack of the right signal at the right time. Think of it as a key fitting into a lock. The lock is the overstimulated nervous system. The key is a practice that takes seconds yet cues a cascade of responses: the slowing of breathing, the reduction of stress hormones, the quieting of intrusive thought. Once the door is opened, the brain can return to its natural rhythms, consolidating memory and restoring mental clarity. The 60-second exercise I am preparing to teach you is not complicated. Its power lies in its precision. By engaging both the breath and subtle physical awareness, it harnesses neural circuits that are ancient, reliable, and underutilized in our daily lives. Before I describe the steps, let me outline why it works. Breathing is unique. It is both automatic and voluntary. You do not need to think to breathe, yet with a single decision, you can slow, deepen, or hold your breath. That dual control makes the respiratory system an accessible doorway into the autonomic nervous system. When you slow your breathing and extend your exhalation, you stimulate the vagus nerve, a long cranial nerve that connects brainstem to heart, lungs, and gut. Activation of the vagus nerve promotes the parasympathetic state, the rest and digest mode that counters the stress-driven fight-or-flight state. Neurologists have documented the effect in controlled studies. Just 60 seconds of guided breathing can reduce blood pressure, lower cortisol, and increase heart rate variability, a marker of resilience. Combined with gentle awareness of body posture, such as a subtle relaxation of the neck and shoulders, this practice sends converging signals of safety to the brain. Safety is the prerequisite for sleep. Without it, your body remains in guarded vigilance. With it, the brain feels permitted to release its grip, to descend into the deeper stages where memory is consolidated and cellular repair takes place. Now picture this in practice. You are lying in bed, perhaps after reading or turning off the light. You begin by placing one hand on your abdomen, allowing yourself to feel the rhythm of your breath. Slowly, you inhale through the nose, counting to 4. You hold for a brief pause, and then exhale gently through the mouth, counting to 6 or 7. With each cycle, the exhalation is slightly longer than the inhalation. This ratio is deliberate. It accentuates vagal tone and signals calm. As you repeat this sequence for just 60 seconds, perhaps 5 or 6 cycles, you also allow your shoulders to sink into the mattress, releasing accumulated tension. The result is a physiological reset. Within a minute, your nervous system has shifted gears. Do not mistake its simplicity for triviality. The elegance of this exercise lies precisely in how little effort it requires. In an age where many seek elaborate routines, supplements, or devices, this practice can be performed in silence, without tools, in the privacy of your own room. For individuals between 35 and 70, whose lives may already feel crowded with obligations and routines, the brevity is an asset. Consistency, not complexity, determines the outcome. Practiced nightly, this 1-minute ritual becomes a powerful signal. The day is finished, the night is yours, and the brain may begin its hidden work of cleaning, repairing, and remembering. Why does such a brief practice succeed where long hours of tossing and turning fail? The answer lies in the intricate wiring of the nervous system. At the center of this lies the balance between two complementary forces, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic branches of the autonomic system. When you are stressed, rushing, or consumed with worry, the sympathetic branch dominates, flooding your body with adrenaline and cortisol, elevating blood pressure, quickening the heartbeat, and sharpening attention for danger. That is useful if you are facing a real threat, but disastrous when you are lying in bed seeking rest. The parasympathetic branch, by contrast, is designed for restoration. It slows the heart, relaxes muscles, and primes digestion and cellular repair. The shift between these two states is not random. It can be influenced deliberately. This is where the 60-second exercise enters. By elongating the exhalation, you are not just breathing differently. You are tapping into the vagus nerve, which carries information between brain and body. The vagus nerve is like a superhighway of calm, and its stimulation creates a measurable slowing of neural oscillations. In brain imaging studies, participants who practiced controlled breathing for short intervals showed increased synchronization of alpha and theta waves, rhythms that are precursors to the slow-wave sleep so vital for memory consolidation. Moreover, the lowering of cortisol prepares the hippocampus to perform its nightly task of transferring memories. Cortisol, when elevated at night, interferes with that transfer, leading to the very memory lapses people fear. By reducing cortisol through a deliberate shift into parasympathetic dominance, the exercise clears the path for the hippocampus to function optimally. Consider also the role of oxygen. In the rush of shallow breathing that accompanies stress, the brain receives less efficient oxygenation. Slowing and deepening the breath restores balance, improves cerebral blood flow, and enhances the delivery of oxygen to regions such as the prefrontal cortex. That region, crucial for decision-making and attention, is also vulnerable to sleep loss. In effect, the practice is like refueling a system that has been running on empty. In just 60 seconds, you create the conditions for deeper rest and more effective memory processing. This is not speculation. It is borne out in clinical settings where neurologists use breathing techniques as adjunct therapies for insomnia, anxiety, and even mild cognitive impairment. To the listener who has tried pills, supplements, or elaborate bedtime rituals with little success, the simplicity of this may seem almost insulting. But the body responds not to complexity, but to precision. Like pressing a reset button on a computer, this small action can restore the system to its default state, allowing the much larger processes of sleep and memory to proceed. It is a neurological trick, but it is also a biological truth. The brain is waiting for the right cue, and the breath provides it. The impact of this nightly ritual is best understood not in abstract theory, but in lived experience. Imagine a woman in her late 60s, retired from her career yet still active, who has struggled for years with fragmented sleep. She finds herself awake at 2 in the morning, scrolling through old memories, worried about what she might be forgetting. Each morning she feels drained, increasingly reliant on lists, and fearful of the creeping fog that seems to cloud her once sharp mind. After learning this 60-second practice, she decides to try it one night when the familiar insomnia strikes. With skepticism, she places her hand on her abdomen, lengthens her exhalations, and counts softly. After a minute, her body feels heavier, her chest less tight. That night she drifts into a deeper rest than she has felt in months. After several weeks of nightly practice, her energy improves, she recalls names with greater ease, and she feels less haunted by the specter of decline. Her story is not unique. Neurologists report similar outcomes across age groups. Men and women in their 40s juggling work and family find themselves less irritable after better sleep. Older adults in their 70s report sharper recall of appointments and conversations. What unites these accounts is not perfection. Everyone still has restless nights, but a consistent improvement in both the ease of falling asleep and the clarity of waking thought. For some, the practice becomes not just a bedtime tool, but a midday reset, a way to calm racing thoughts before a meeting, or quiet nerves before a social gathering. It is at this point that I invite you, the viewer, to pause and consider. If a single minute each night could bring measurable change to your rest and your memory, would you not commit to it? If you have found value so far in understanding this connection between sleep and memory, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Here, you will find science explained in language you can trust, practical solutions that respect your time, and guidance aimed at protecting the faculties that matter most as we age. By subscribing, you not only receive these tools regularly, but you also help build a community of people determined to age with strength, clarity, and dignity. The exercise itself is deceptively small, but its ripple effect touches every corner of life. Better sleep means more patience with loved ones, sharper memory for daily tasks, more resilience against illness, and even a buffer against the cognitive decline that so many fear. To practice it nightly is to claim agency in an area where many feel helpless. It is to say, I will not surrender to insomnia or memory loss without trying the tools that science places in my hands. And this is only the beginning. In the next part, we will explore how this single practice, when paired with supportive habits like nutrition and light management, becomes even more powerful, transforming not only nights, but days, not only memory, but mood. When you adopt a nightly ritual, its value grows with time. The 60-second exercise is not a one-time trick. It is a habit that teaches your nervous system consistency. Every evening you repeat the signal. Every evening your body recognizes it more quickly. And every evening your brain learns that this is the moment to transition from vigilance to restoration. That is the essence of conditioning, and it is as true for a 70-year-old as for a child. With regular practice, the benefits extend beyond falling asleep more easily. You begin to notice subtle but profound changes. Mornings feel less heavy. Your mind is more resilient under stress, and memory tasks that once felt laborious become smoother. Neurological health is cumulative. Just as years of disrupted sleep erode memory, years of restored sleep reinforce it. Deep sleep allows the glymphatic system, a network of channels that clears waste from the brain, to flush out proteins and toxins that accumulate during wakefulness. This cleansing is especially important in older adults because the accumulation of beta-amyloid and tau proteins has been strongly linked to cognitive decline. Each night of deeper sleep, facilitated by the exercise, is a night your brain performs this essential cleansing more effectively. Over weeks and months, the difference is measurable. Studies show improved attention, stronger recall, and even greater emotional balance in those who integrate parasympathetic activating practices into their routine. The benefits ripple outward into daily life. Memory consolidation means more than recalling facts. It allows you to preserve the richness of your own story. It means remembering your grandchild's birthday without a prompt, recalling the recipe your mother taught you, or keeping the thread of a conversation without interruption. It is in these details that dignity resides. Better sleep also strengthens immunity, stabilizes blood sugar, and lowers the risk of cardiovascular problems. Thus, a single minute before bed becomes a foundation stone in a much larger structure of healthy aging. Of course, sleep is influenced by many factors, and to maximize the benefits of this exercise, you can support it with simple, proven habits. Diet is one. Foods rich in magnesium, such as leafy greens, nuts, and seeds, help calm the nervous system. Bananas and oats, rich in tryptophan, support the production of serotonin and melatonin, hormones vital for sleep regulation. Avoiding caffeine and alcohol in the hours before bed preserves the natural rhythm of sleep cycles. Light is another factor. Exposure to morning sunlight anchors the circadian clock, while dim, warm light in the evening prepares the brain for rest. Together, these habits form a supportive environment in which the 60-second practice can shine most brightly. We often think of aging as an inevitable decline, but neuroscience paints a different picture. The brain remains plastic, capable of change and growth, well into later decades. What it requires are consistent cues, moments of intentional reset that allow natural mechanisms to function at their best. The exercise you have learned here is not a cure-all, but it is a powerful demonstration of how little is required to shift the trajectory. 60 seconds of deliberate practice, repeated nightly, can restore sleep, sharpen memory, and reignite confidence in your own mind's capacity. Imagine the alternative: nights spent in restless vigilance, mornings clouded with fatigue, days filled with frustration at forgotten names or misplaced items. Now imagine reclaiming those nights, waking rested, remembering clearly, engaging with life more fully. This is not a fantasy. It is a biological possibility that begins with a single deliberate breath. The exercise is a doorway. Walking through it each night is your choice. As we conclude, I want to remind you that it is never too late to begin. Whether you are 35 and seeking to preserve mental sharpness for decades to come, or 70 and longing for better nights after years of struggle, this practice is available to you. It costs nothing, requires no equipment, and takes less than a minute. Yet its return is immeasurable. By giving your brain the right signal, you allow it to do what it was designed to do: cleanse, consolidate, repair, and remember. So tonight, when the lights are out and the day feels heavy on your shoulders, try it. Place your hand on your abdomen, breathe slowly, exhale longer than you inhale, and allow your body to listen. Within 60 seconds, you may feel the shift. Within weeks, you may notice the transformation. And within months, you may look back on this moment as the beginning of a new relationship with your sleep, your memory, and your health. If you found this valuable, I encourage you once more to subscribe to this channel. Here, we bring science into your home, translated into practices you can use, always with respect for your time and your dignity. Join a community that believes aging is not the end of vitality, but the beginning of a wiser, more intentional chapter.